And hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today from wherever you're zooming in. Maybe you can even put in the chat right now. Let us know where you are zooming in from. So, again, really appreciative for those of you who might be from other time zones coming in at different times, especially like when I think about people out in the East Coast area, it's 8 o'clock and you're joining us on a Friday. Again, my name is Rob Kim. I am the LFS Career Strategist. What that role entails is basically I support all of our LFS undergraduate students in all things related to career. So that can be like traditional things like, webinars like resume, cover letter, interview, et cetera, even LinkedIn. And then also I have the great privilege of going into some of your classrooms. So for LFS 100, 250, 350, we'll talk about, and I oversee some programs with some other colleagues like the LFS mentorship program. And I'm really lucky to actually be almost like a consult to many other colleagues and faculty about careers and how we can help you students think about your careers and understand what you're trying to do in your experiences at UBC to translate for the future. All right. So before we begin, I just want to acknowledge a couple of my biases. I love UBC. And so everything that I'm going to say here today, you might want to be a little suspicious because of I've done 3 degrees here. I met my wife here. I work here now. So I really love UBC, but it wasn't always the case. I struggled again in my first year and, went on a lot of a kind of a different journey in terms of my own career. And now I get to like talk about careers with so many students here on campus. And I'm really excited to be here. Like, this is the stuff I love talking about. So hopefully you get something from it today. I just want to acknowledge that we are on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. And I think about the term unceded quite a bit. It is this idea of that we are guests to the host of the Musqueam people. And I think about the privilege that we have tonight to our, again, your time zone, to be together, to actually try to, learn a little bit. And I hope that you can take one small thing from today's session for yourself, because we're all in different places. And I hope that it can help inform your decisions as you're making a pretty big decision for, kind of your future step, considering some of the schools that you might have on your plate. So I'm going to just start with a little video from, it's actually made by a student in LFS, and it's just talking a little bit about, what LFS is about. So I'm going to play this for you right now. It's about 5 minutes, and then we'll use this as a jumping point to, again, get talking about, what an LFS degree can do for your career. So 1 second. I'm going to share that.
To those of you joining the LFS family, I would highly recommend keeping an open mind.
One thing I'd say to newly admitted students is, I think, to work hard, but also to have fun and to enjoy the process. It's important also to recognize that things may change along the way, and it's likely that you'll experience and encounter new things that could well shape your path.
Don't be afraid to talk to your classmates and your fellow LFS peers. The summer before university, I was really worried about fitting in and finding a group of people that I could rely on. But after going to Imagine Day and LFS First, I was able to meet friends who would continue to be my reference to this day.
Please get involved with the faculty. The wonderful thing about LFS is how small our faculty is. We are a tight community of students, and we have plenty of opportunities within the faculty.
I would tell newly admitted students that their undergraduate experience in LFS is really what they make of it. As a new student, it can be intimidating to talk to other people in your classes, your professors, and to go to events, but I guarantee that other people around you are feeling this way too.
The first thing I have to mention that I value the most about my degree is the tight-knit community in LFS. Everyone in LFS is so positive, welcoming, friendly, and passionate about what they study and do.
The most valuable thing, I think, would be its ability to instill critical thinking. It's a skill that we often overlook, but is absolutely imperative within the workforce.
The first that come to the top of my head is one, my degree flexibility. It really allows me to be more explorative with my degree and discover the things I like. It's really just opening all these doors and allowing me to gather all these experiences based off my own interests.
I'm passionate about every aspect in nutrition, and taking courses in LFS has allowed me to explore each of these aspects in greater detail. It's made me realize the real-world impact my degree can have.
I have a passion for food, specifically what people choose to eat and how they make their food choices. Throughout my degree, I've been able to explore this passion further through certain courses such as the economics of food consumption and introduction to global food markets. I've also gained practical skills in the area of data analytics and data visualization. By getting involved with the Land and Food Systems Undergraduate Society and other organizations on campus, I've developed strong interpersonal skills and communication skills while also being connected to other opportunities.
When I heard about the LFS Applied Animal Biology program, I didn't know too much about it, but decided to give it a try, and to my surprise, it was kind of right up my alley. I really like marine sciences, specifically working with marine animals. But one really cool opportunity that I'm definitely looking forward to is to do the Applied Animal Biology Practicum class, where you can actually work at the Vancouver Aquarium for credits for your class and get hands-on experiences working with these animals.
A passion of mine is management of people and project. LFS has supported me throughout my involvement with the LFS ACE team. This team focuses on hosting events and workshops targeting the specific topics for our LFS students. Looking back on the years spent on this team, I was able to gain such meaningful experiences that I will be able to take on into my careers.
I think one of the greatest things about LFS is that it's very much a hands-on type of program and promotes the development of practical skills. One of the greatest strengths, I think, at UBC is its expansive research programs, and I think to have contributed in some small way to that, and to have come out having developed strong research skills is something I really value.
It's simply shifted the way in which I view problems. It's no longer a one solution fits all, rather a way of addressing it systematically and doing so with other people.
I think the nature of my program, Nutritional Sciences, lends itself quite well to the study of medicine. I really enjoyed learning nutrition and its broader implications on human health and well-being, and the fact that a number of medical conditions can be traced directly to nutritional deficiencies. I think for me that's absolutely fascinating.
By participating in group projects, community-based experiential learning, practicums and whatnot, I got to learn how to address real-world problems and to do so fearlessly.
Our faculty is so diverse, with people studying all kinds of different things, including nutrition, food science, sustainable agriculture, and economics. And it's really interesting to get to meet people that have the same passion as you do.
I encourage all new LFS students to really explore what this faculty has to offer. There's a place for everyone, and that's what makes this faculty the greatest faculty of all time.
All right. So those were current students and some alumni, recent graduates as well, kind of sharing a little bit about LFS. And, sometimes there's some complex words and terminology and things that I've learned since I've also joined LFS. And so, again, we're going to just go through a couple of the things that they're referring to. And I want to share a Google document with you now. So we're going to work on this together. And again, if you're on your phone, you can still be able to watch on my screen with me. So I put that into the chat there. Let me just do it one more time. And so if you want to open up that document, and this is going to allow you to, because, we're going to go through things at a pretty good pace. And so again, if you're like something that you want to explore, research again on your own later, you'll be able to just save a document, make a copy for yourself at the end of the session. There's going to be tons of hyperlinks. And, the UBC's motto, "To Mass," which means it's yours, is something that I think about all the time. It's a way of actually saying that, hey, there's something here for everyone, but it also means it's up to you to kind of go seek it out or search for these things or even do the research to just better understand things. Because again, it's not necessarily always going to come to you like, easily, but there is something for everyone in many ways. So again, there's my email. If you have any further questions after this session, I'm more than happy to talk about any specific questions you have related to UBC or LFS. There is my LinkedIn there. You can connect with me. I'm very active on there, and our students are pretty active there, where that's a great space to start thinking about how you network, how you research, how you learn these sort of things. These are things that we try to actually get our students to think about from the get-go. And we're actually saying like, hey, LinkedIn's not only for someone in business, it's actually for someone who is passionate about certain values, wants to build community, passionate about food systems. And so again, that's something that we really try to expose our students right away, to encourage them to be in that space and test things out. A lot of it is we want to explore and experiment. So let's get into some of what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to show you just a couple resources. I'm going to talk to you about 3 reasons again why, again, I have a lot of biases, but why I believe the LFS degree is really well situated when we think about the complexity of work and careers right now. I'll go over some resources, and then at the end, I'll stay around for some questions. So I'm going to ask you right now on page 3, if you can just go there and let me know. You can answer either question or both. What are you curious about when you think about food, nutrition, health, animals, sustainability, agriculture? Those are things that are under the land and food systems umbrella. Or maybe even what are your value, skills, and interests? I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to a minute just to type in there. So you might have to fight with your neighbor for a space, but it's okay. Just again, go to either space. And then once you type something, put a +1 down if you agree with someone else. I'm going to really push you not to just be passive here. We know the learning research shows that when we are writing, our brains learn better. Your neural pathways, they kind of open up, or they start connecting a little bit better. So, again, just try to, again, don't worry about being perfect with the answer, but just put something down on the page. Oh, I love that, all of you, mostly high school age, right? Look at all these things that you're really passionate about. And so again, this is what I love working with students in this faculty. They're looking at how do we create change using science in real time and in real ways. And so again, I did my degree in science. I did it in biopsychology. And sometimes when I was doing those studies where, you're learning about these things and studying things, but sometimes you can't see that, or you can't maybe directly take action. And so if you're the sort of person that you really want to be working in communities, working with people, and seeing direct ways of looking at how do I impact, whether it's climate, agriculture, your nutrition, LFS is the place for you. Like, this is what we do with, in terms of, you heard Ricky say hands-on. So it's great to see. And it's really cool to see people so passionate about, like, literally things like, vitamin D deficiency. Like, these are the things that really interest people. And I think what I love is, our students really embrace it. They're not like shy about it, and they don't feel like that they have to like not talk about it. These are things that they're really passionate about, and really a lot of topics and issues that are so top of mind in our society and that are really important. And so I love being able to work with students who have real passions and a want to change their communities and society in many ways. All these things that you're listing here, these are things that other people have interest from our faculty to other students, along with just still people in the UBC community as well. So, these things that you're putting down, these are things that you can like, yeah, can I test out? Can I explore? What does this look like here at campus? And I think, one thing that I want to share, it's quite obvious, again, when you're taking courses that you enjoy, that line up with some of your interests and values, typically you're going to do probably a little bit better. You're going to be more engaged. So, in first year, you have a baseline of courses you have to take, where it's chemistry, physics, biology, and sometimes for a lot of students, it's a little bit hard sometimes to be like, I'm not sure how this chemistry relates. There's still foundational things that all science students at UBC take. Then as you get into second, third, fourth year, then you're getting really into some of the more specific courses that are in your program, whether you're in applied animal biology, nutritional sciences, food, nutrition, health, for instance. Great stuff, everybody. Appreciate the activity engagement. It's really good right now. And there, let's move on here. And maybe you can share with me on page 5, what are you hoping to learn about from today? So what's maybe one thing that you're want to maybe like hope to hear? I'm not going to be able to address maybe all of them, but it's going to allow me to make sure that I can hit as many as I can. And then if your question doesn't get answered, and you can, again, stay around, happy to chit chat with you and answer any specific questions. So as you wrap up here, I want to recognize that, again, in our society right now, when we're thinking about like higher ed, a big piece of it now for, this generation, and rightfully so, is thinking about like, I want to be able to get this education in order to get a career or to be able to work, et cetera, et cetera. That is a big outcome that is on the minds of a lot of students. And that makes sense too, with the investment that you're looking at. And so, I will have some students or prospective students or parents be like, what can an LFS degree get me? What job? And honestly, my first response would almost be like, well, it could almost get you anything, but that doesn't help you, right? So what I want to go through with you right now is just, again, where I see some of the benefits of an LFS degree and how it can, really line up with a lot of the things when we're thinking about like career development. And so I will say, though, that we have had alumni that end up in all different places. And so I really appreciate that actually this degree allows people to start looking at possibilities and not feeling that they're kind of hemmed in. Doesn't mean it's easy, though. And I'm going to also talk a little bit about how this faculty and UBC in general what are the resources that are going to help you get some experiences and skills that you're all talking about here. So let's dive into a little bit here, and I'll make sure I revisit this at the end. But I'm going to start with this. In careers, my favorite phrasing is, you can't be what you can't see. Let's say that again. You can't be what you can't see. So I will speak about my specific upbringing. I'm not saying it's what you're going through, but when you think about careers, you're very influenced by the people around you, your like tight network, or again, maybe family members or friends, right? So for me, like, again, my parents, they immigrated from Korea to Canada. They really wanted me to have stability, financial stability. And, of course, professional programs are really great. And that's, again, can be done through LFS. And so we have a lot of students, of course, going into F&H. They want food, nutrition, health, and they're really looking at like, I want to be a dietitian. We have people entering in applied animal biology, for instance, saying, I would like to be a veterinarian. We have people from our faculty have gone into medicine, into dentistry, into law. So there are roots into professional programs. And what I want to share with all of you, like the professional program, that is a way to think about like, I'm getting to one spot, but I also want our students to really also become a little bit more aware of what is out there. There's other ways that you can help people within healthcare. There's other ways that you can actually work in a community. And so again, a part of it, like, you can't be what you can't see. We're often just exposed to like a lot of the professional programs and might not be aware of something like, if in sustainable agriculture, for instance, I'd be really looking at something called like agrology, like, professional agrologist. It's a really cool professional designation that you can do through sustainable agriculture, and professional agrology allows you a lot of different flexibility in terms of your career. So I'm going to say you can't be what you can't see. And so part of the journey, if you're at UBCN in LFS, it's you're learning from others, you're doing the research, you're trying to expose yourself to more options and possibilities. Another way I put it is, we can't even predict the sort of jobs that are going to be available in the next 5 to 10 years. And so a perfect example is like this current job as career strategist is like one of the best jobs I've ever had. Well, in my first year at UBC, I couldn't have said, hey, one day I'm going to be a career strategist, because I'm the first person who ever occupied this role. Our working environment changes, and what might be a real good industry today might not even exist 5 years from now, right? Even the idea of like 10 years ago, someone's like, I'm making money off of, driving people around in my vehicle, complete strangers. We'd be like, what are you talking about, right? And that, there's a whole other economy that can happen. And so I think about this degree of like really trying to be flexible sometimes to the changing markets or to our own values or in skills changing, right? Because sometimes what if I go into this program or I go down this road and I'm like, that's not actually what I wanted, or suddenly I'm exposed to something else. How can I sometimes pivot? The other one I like to say is, you know what you don't know. And so I think for us, when we have our students come into LFS, I'm going to give you some context because I have worked in other places at UBC, and I was a science student. I was in education here as well. And so I can see some of the unique things in this faculty that you don't necessarily get in other faculties, but you wouldn't know that because you know what you don't know. Like you would come into LFS and you would almost think like, oh, everyone must get this. Or you look at other faculties and you might say, well, how come we don't have that? And so I'll talk a little bit about the uniqueness of this program, of the faculty, sorry. Here's one of my favorite kind of follows, Liz and Molly. They do some really cool things around mental health and careers. And my question to you, take a look at this picture. Like, how does this relate to careers? And I wouldn't mind if you're even, putting in the chat, like how do you interpret this? Or what's your takeaway when you look at something like this, where it's like how we think life works, how it actually works when it actually thinking about careers? This is how I interpret it. For me, I think it's easy for us to think like careers as linear. And so like, I'll get to university. It really is this idea of like, we are thinking in terms of a North American society, there's such a push to kind of almost specialize in many ways, which I get. But if you ever read the book Range by David Epstein, I think that's a great book that actually represents LFS in many ways. And in that book, it talks about if you actually want some success in career, a lot of the research shows that people who start off generalists first and then specialize later, they tend to have like a little greater success. So I think about LFS as a place where, if you don't want to necessarily think about there's only one destination, like one job or one career, or you're thinking about like there could be a multitude of ways that you can get there, or a multitude of pathways. And I think that sometimes feels a little bit overwhelming. But in many ways, it's talking about the reality of what's going to happen is where you come to, let's say, UBC, suddenly you get exposed to this one class and you're like, what is this? And suddenly you're going down another pathway. And that's why I think it's like, I like to maybe not even use career goals, because I think the word goals, if we change our mind, which you're inevitably going to do, it almost feels like you're a failure, when really, like, how would you know until you do it? So when I think about the generalist versus specialist, one way I think about our LFS students is like a lot of LFS students, they like studying many things. They have a multitude of interests. And if that resonates with you, that's why I think a lot of our students really like our programming within the faculty. The way I put it is, I think of LFS students as birds. Like in an ecosystem, you need birds and frogs. Your specialists are frogs, right? They're in the mud. They're looking at something specific, which is fine. That's great. But a lot of LFS students typically they're birds. They're looking at the system. They're looking at everything. They're going down beside the river, then they're going to the tree, and then they're flying high up and then coming back down before they make a final decision of maybe this is where I want to be. And I think I want to share with you again, there's such a rush, or we're surrounded by what seems like stories of like, hey, I know I want this and I'm going to become this, that it sometimes makes us anxious. And I want to just tell all of you that, again, you can be patient and you can be a bird and you can fly around and like explore and experience different things. Now, with any strategy, though, if you're a generalist, there's pros and cons. And the cons are, of course, like if you're a generalist, well, that means sometimes you have to take care of your story a little bit more because some people might not understand what you're about. So what I mean by that is if a frog is looking at you and like, can you work with me? And you're a bird, you might have to actually speak like a frog, act like a frog in order for them to see your value or your transferable skills. Another way I think about it is like, the con of sometimes being a generalist is because you might get overwhelmed by choices. It's like, you go to a buffet and like there's too many choices. I don't know what to do. And that can happen sometimes. So the way I like to say that is like, as a bird, sometimes you need to set boundaries or have filters. So you're not just flying over the Pacific Ocean kind of lost. Another one last way I also think about it is, you can be interested in anything, but you cannot do everything, unfortunately. And so I think that's again where you can focus on I always think about thinking in threes. Your brain works in threes. So come to UBC, come to LFS, focus on three things, focus on another three things. And through that exploration and flying around, I really believe you're going to find things that align with your values, your skills, and your interests. And I wish it was an easy journey, but like anything, you actually have to experience it and put yourself out there, which is sometimes the hardest thing to do, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Thank you for sharing in there. Wendy, you're right. Like a career path is hard to figure out, but I would actually more go to the exploratory thing is like, you know what? I'm not sure of where I want to go yet, but I'm going to try to explore this pathway, see what happens, and then maybe it reveals itself or I go down another pathway, right? So I wish I knew what I wanted to do like right away in first year. I thought I did. I wanted to go into med school. I even applied to med school. I didn't get into med school. And that was a real hard time for me and very difficult time because I had so much like identity in that. And then I was suddenly struck with like, what next? And that is why I'm so passionate working with students, because I want you to realize like sometimes putting all your eggs in one basket in a competitive professional process, it can be a little bit restrictive, especially. So suddenly I'm like, what am I going to do? And almost like holding that sense of failure when really I wasn't a failure. I just wasn't a best fit or match for that program at that time. And frankly, between you and me, I wasn't as dedicated as I needed to be to get into something that competitive, right? So again, I hope you're thinking about like, I want to be in a place that I can explore. And I think, LFS is a place that allows to do that, but still, within science, still getting a degree, still being able to get into professional programs as that you decide. So one of my favorite career theories, there are career theories. I know that sounds really geeky. It's the planned happenstance theory. And what it says is, it says indecision is desirable and sensible, as it allows the opportunity to benefit from unplanned events. This is not something that a lot of us like to hear. Our parents probably don't like to hear. Like, imagine you came home like, what are you going to be doing? You're like, I don't know. We'll see. It actually is talking about the indecision is desirable and sensible, because what it's saying is, it's not saying you don't do anything. It means like, look at what you can do presently, what opportunities, what you can build on. And so you kind of plan. And then the happenstance part occurs when you might be down the road coming across a career opportunity or job, and you're the right person for that part at that time. So there's a little bit of like almost this idea of chance, but I like the more thing of like, I'm making my luck. So the planned happenstance thing theory, I really like, because it's like, well, how can I predict the future? And so rather than worrying about this uncertain future, I'm just going to say, hey, what do I want to be a part of? Who do I want to learn from? What do I want to grow? And then along the way, I'm trying to increase my opportunities, my options, and my choices to then jump on something. I really think that people who ask the question and they mean well of what do you want to do with your life? I want to offer all of you, whether you come to UBC or not, just to kind of like maybe say something to that question, but don't feel upset by, not knowing the answer to that? It's a really personal and loaded question to me. And again, people mean well, but I always think of like, in what other facet of our life where do we jump into something that deep, right? Usually like your family member, hey, how's it going? And it's like, next question, like, oh, you're at UBC. Oh, what are you going to do with your life? Like that's a lot. I don't even know what I want to eat tomorrow. So again, well-meaning questions, but I think I just want to share with you that again is that tendency to be like, you need to know and specialize. And I think that's really tough to know in your first year. So I'm just trying to increase my chances and opportunities by meeting people, doing experiences, putting myself out there. But I'm also recognizing that I was a very shy person. I didn't do that into my third year, and some of us take longer than others. All right, let's get into it. Flexibility, uniqueness, community. These are the ways that I think LFS can ignite your career. All right, so let's break it down. Number one, flexibility. I think about it as the flexibility to explore. So that's through courses and electives, interdisciplinary approaches, experiential learning. So what experiential learning means that you might have some more project-based, community-based things where you're actually doing hands-on things side by side with your classmates, research and student involvement. I think these are all things that you can do within the container of UBC and the faculty to really allow you to explore what is out there. Again, you can't be what you can't see. I'll give you an example for the courses and electives. So many of our programs, when you get to third and fourth year, you get way more electives than a lot of other faculties. So we have students who are like in, let's say, food and nutrition health, but they're doing a philosophy elective. We have other people who are like, I'm doing an econ elective, or I'm doing, like a sociology. Like you'll have so many students in LFS doing a multitude of like diverse electives. And that's because you are able to have those choices. So for myself in science, I love my degree, but sometimes as you get further and further into third, fourth year, I didn't have that luxury. I might have had like maybe one elective out of 5 each term. Whereas like sometimes I better get this right, something like global resource systems, no, applied animal biology, like sometimes by, your fourth year, you're almost getting like 3 to 4 electives each term. And so you can see that if you're able to select things that you like to study, you probably will do better in it, or you'll just be more engaged. And, our students are very happy in that way, that they're able to keep multitude of interests and sometimes combine that into a unique hybrid. Right. So again, flexibility to explore. We'll talk a little bit more specifically about some of these things. And these are some tools for you right now to kind of click on later to explore. So I'm going to just show you them real quick. What can I do with my land and food systems degree? So this is our degree landing page. So it talks about, different things, what you're learning in the program, some skills that you can be getting that are what employers are looking for. You can look at what experiences you can get within the land and food systems degree. It talks about research, international experience, building your network. And then this is what I want to really show you at the very bottom. There are programs where if you select something, let's say food science, you click that, it shows you the skills that you're learning, exploring the career possibilities. If you don't know much about the Canadian system, we have something called the National Occupational Classification System, where the government of Canada at the federal level have these designations for certain titles. So this is an example of like, you can't be what you can't see. So you might be like, what's a hazard analysis critical control point coordinator? What does the job market look like? Then I'll talk a little bit about labor market in a bit. These are some ideas of like, these are the sort of roles in food science, which allows you to say, yeah, is that something I'm interested in? Food science right now, to me, for instance, everybody, if I'm looking for a job that is, pandemic proof, like the food industry did not go away, and food science students are alumni. They do really well in terms of graduating into a lot of different industries in a multitude of fashion. So that's an example, like again, of a program that we have. The LinkedIn alumni search is a great tool. Again, I've been addressing you can't be what you can't see. So if you click that will show the University of British Columbia. The desktop version is really good. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, you can just make a basic one. But this is a great passive research place where if you click the tab alumni. Does everyone see that there? Then I can type in food, nutrition, health. The keyword search is very specific, but you can see there out of the 250,000 alumni, there's about 1,400 that have the words food, nutrition, health in there. So you can start perusing what people are doing. And it's not only seeing like where they're ending, you're getting a sense of what they're doing. You can even see current students as well. But so for instance, if I go through here, I might be like, okay, where are people ending up? Maybe I'm looking for, who's a dietitian and these sort of things. So for instance, if I click, I want to just click on one person here. If I click, let's go with Hannah here. So if I click Hannah, she has an MBA, so I can always see like what she's done in between. I might be increasing my scope and understanding of the different jobs and companies out there. So here's someone who did their FNH degree. They went back to do their MBA 3 years later. So I could even take a look and see like what were they doing in between and just like kind of learn. And LinkedIn is a great resource to just, again, be a little bit more educated about what are the outcomes, where are these students landing, where are the alumni landing for our different degree programs. So you might want to check that out. And again, I have that here. One thing I think about, again, is like, let's research the way that you like perceiving and engaging with the world. So, to me, a valuable research, and I don't know if I'd say this out loud as being here in higher academia, I think social media, right? So again, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, even Twitter, a lot of older people and faculty hang out on Twitter. So it's a great way to look at what the research is doing, what their lab is about, even just get a sense. I think Instagram is a great way for you to learn more about LFS if you're not already following some of these. So I didn't direct link them, but if you follow like LFS newsletters, UBC LFS, actually I should have, a really good one would be LFS US, which is our student society there. I would really take a look at them. Like, you can unfollow them later, but you can go through and get a sense of like what the supports are, the engagement. Our LFS US, they do such a fantastic job in a multitude of ways. So yeah, check that out. And, a great way to learn from social media. The YouTube there, I even clicked there. If you open it up, it talks about, let's talk about UBC first residences. Remember the video I showed you at the beginning, this is LFS. Well, that was actually made by Maddie, who kind of got her first start where she just ran her own personal YouTube channel. And so again, she has a video on like, what are the UBC first year residences like. She did all this stuff before she even started working with us in student services. And then she actually moved from science into LFS. And so she even talks about that journey. So that's, again, a way that you can learn from other sources. So that's online stuff. I think about then talking with people. You might even get the courage to reach out to current students or people or alumni through LinkedIn. Like, you literally could send a message, and because you don't need permission, you can send and you might not get a reply. But I think that's a great way to practice for your career. You could send out something. Hey, I'm living in Toronto. I saw that you were from Toronto. You went to UBC LFS. I'm just wondering if you have any advice because I'm deciding between UBC and U of T. Obviously, you should go to UBC. And then we think about experiences, right? So how through experiences in this faculty is a great way to explore. Let's keep the ball rolling. I think of this degree when you think about the term hybridization. So when you're thinking about plants, like corn especially, right, has been a huge hybridized plant. You're trying to take the best desirable traits in a plant to produce like this superior kind of like breed in many ways. When you think about hybridization, often hybridization, you actually create these plants sometimes to be resistant to environmental changes as well. I think that's a UBC LFS degree, right? Because when you're thinking about the variety of things that you're learning, I really believe that this degree, because sometimes if it's general, it still allows you to pivot. So sometimes, like, let's say you're studying something in physics and you're specializing, it's sometimes hard to believe that I can go in physics from, being a physicist to going into banking. Again, we have people appearing in all different sectors. And I think that ability to almost recognize that I have a hybrid of skills allows us to better sometimes, when the selection environmental selective pressures are working against us or changing. Again, imagine a global pandemic coming along and shutting down the world for like 2 years. Like we would never have envisioned that, and that had a real repercussions for people in different industries, to the point where I have a friend where they're in medicine. I would never have heard imagine this phrase where like, I don't know if I want to be a doctor anymore, because they've been under a lot of hardship working in the emergency care, right? So you can see that the future is uncertain, and I really think about how can a degree make sure that I'm going to be flexible and adaptable to those changing pressures. Let's go to a little bit of uniqueness of what you have in LFS. First of all, there's the course series. So all of you will get to go into a course like LFS 100 in first year, then LFS 250, and then the majority of you will be doing LFS 350. Those are all kind of experiential learning courses. You get to actually develop skills of working with people. In many ways, you could put that in your resume. Sometimes if you don't have enough experience, you can maybe use volunteer your course projects, and a lot of our students do that. And you get a real nice sampling of some of the things to better understand of like, what do you like and what are you capable of. We have a lot of LFS, actually, I shouldn't say course internships, they're more the leadership courses now. And so something like LFS 450 in your fourth year, you can actually be working within an outdoor setting with a community partner, trying to solve some problems. And it could be a multitude of different things. That goes, again, a real nice lead into experiential learning. So we have a lot of things, again, looking at real world problems, wicked problems. I think about our LFS mentorship program. We're one of the smallest faculties on campus. We have one of the largest mentorship programs. We had about almost 300 students with about 125 mentors this year, 110, mentors. And so that means you can come in, you get to talk to some people who are in the industry, you meet some other students, and that's like a year-long program. And we run that. That's a part of the program that I'm with, and we do a lot of career development through there. We practice something called informational interviews. We're really trying to give you reps in a safe manner that will help you with your career. All right. The UBC Farm, UBC Dairy Center, UBC Wine Research Center. So there's a lot of, again, experiential learning. We do a lot of embedded career supports. As you can see, that's my particular job. And I get to work with a lot of faculty members of like, how do we talk about career, connecting courses to career. I do a lot of support in that way. And so what I'm showing with this infographic, we do a lot of like looking at our programs, and we look at it with a career lens. And that's what I usually bring into play there. To give you a little bit further, like, what are people saying? Here's some, kind of like evidence. This is from 250. I go into LFS 250 at the end of the year. I walk them through accomplishment statement exercise. And these are just things that they shared that they were proud of in LFS 250, where you're typically doing projects with, education, and you're doing projects again together. And so, you get to visit the farm, you get to look at, the dairy system, and you get your first introduction to a lot of systems, ways of thinking. You get to make friends because you're again meeting people who have these similar interests and you're working together in groups. Listen, not all groups and teams become friends, but again, you're increasing your odds because you're getting to meet multiple people with similar interests. So these are just like a little cross section. I have way more stuff that people were sharing. Here's an idea of like the career. So our students are really engaged with career. Doesn't mean they have it figured out, but they're really thinking about their career right from the get-go. So LFS mentorship is mostly a lot of first years. And if you look at our career engagement, this represents on campus. In 2021, for instance, we had about 4,400 touch points, again, the smallest faculty, and we had one of the largest percentages in terms of career involvement. That's from workshops to advising, attending career fairs, because we push you to say, yeah, you can be in these spaces and you can start doing this. You don't have to wait. And you can, even if you don't know, like try things out. And so we're trying to develop, that kind of attitude and really push people with that courage. And, this is an email. I got a couple of nice emails in the last while where it shows you kind of like the different touch points where they might have got one-on-one career advising with me, but they might have saw a workshop I did or me coming to class. And this is like, again, how you have these supports from LFS student services. Because of we're a smaller faculty, you get a little bit more attention. It's not that science and arts aren't helping you, but it's just like a scaling thing where there's just, when you're dealing with arts of like 10,000 students to us with about, 2,000 students, that's just a numbers game, right? So again, we really are putting career first and foremost. And it's not necessarily, again, like, hey, we're getting you we're letting you know this is the job that you're going to do. It's, again, allowing you to explore these different options through there. So we're really proud of seeing our students show up really well. And you can see arts is, the largest faculty on campus, and we've been really increasing our engagement over the years. Here's a comparison when you think about community. So as an LFS student, you get to access all the supports at UBC. I used to work centrally with the Center for Student Involvement and Career. So if you aren't looking at some of these things like Jumpstart, I highly recommend that you come in early. You get to meet other first-year students from other faculties. If you're a commuter student, UBC Collegia is there. Imagine Day is there for everyone. These are all things that are accessible for you as an LFS student. Co-op, we have Science Co-op that's also for LFS. So again, if you go to the left side here in the gray, this is all stuff for anyone. And then on the right side, community and think about uniqueness. These are all things that you get as an LFS student as well. Access to the roots. This is not typical. That's the reach out, orientation, transition, and study skill. It is actually a Canvas course, online course module. Students love this in first year because it kind of walks you through and has all these resources. We're not holding your hand, but we're making things easier for you to find. LFS First is a student-run thing. People talk about it all the time. Usually they meet on the weekend for like a full day of activity, where that's where you meet a lot of other first years. If you didn't meet them through Jumpstart, Imagine, Collegia. We just talked about Imagine, the mentorship program. Again, the core series. Our LFS Undergraduate Society is one of the largest societies. And what I love about it is they are very inclusive. So as a first year student, sometimes it's really hard to get involved because of all the hiring and the positions. They were all done like now or in the last month. So when you come in September, it's really hard sometimes to get into these societies because, there's X amount of roles. We have a lot of first years who are able to join LFS US because there's opportunities from the LFS first year committee team to just even other positions. And so again, same with the mentorship program, for instance. The LFS ACE team, usually that's a little bit harder for first years to join, but they do run a lot of events that are academic career engagement. And that is, we have a really big team now where we have people who are doing events, communications, and oh my goodness, I should have the other one, workshops. Other community ways, right? Again, connecting to community. Listen, when you look at the research for success in academics, a lot of students will think like, I just got to come and study, and you need balance. And the research shows when you feel like you know someone knows your name, and you are involved, you do better in your academics. And so you have a higher likelihood that someone knows your name, either your prof, someone in academic services, or even a classmate. And you have more opportunities, as you can see, to join with things that actually, you're really interested in that might not even be directly related to your degree. Something like the LFS Wednesday night dinners is a beautiful thing. They call it WND. It's usually about $5. You bring your own plate, and students make these great, 3-course meals for you. So you could join that team as well. UBC Farm, lots of opportunity to join. Agora Cafe is a student-run cafe that's downstairs in McMillan that we have so many volunteers joining and really, using their cooking skills and baking skills and meeting other students and really contributing to the community that way. And I've talked about these ones as well. I'm going to jump down to LFS Student Services, which I fall under. Christine Clary is the director of LFS Student Services. So we have our academic advisors. They actually kind of know and get get to know you through the 4 years. We have our graduation coming up on June 2nd, and my colleagues and myself, we're very excited. It's going to be quite emotional, especially I'm thinking about for myself. I started 4 years ago. These students that I know, I've seen, I've worked with, like they're the students I worked with first. And so Christine and I, we talked about it yesterday. Like we know these students, and it's just going to be a wonderful celebration. And so again, you have a higher likelihood of getting to know people. Doesn't mean it's easy, and you still need to put yourself out there, but the odds are a little bit higher, as you can see with all these specific involvements. We have student clubs too, right? UBC Food Science Club, UBC Dietetic Student Community, plus like NutriKids, Roots on the Roof, all these central UBC clubs as well that you can access too. So we have students with a diverse set of experiences. And yeah, we offer quite a bit. Excuse me. I'm going to wrap it up here saying LFS presents these increased opportunities in my mind to feel safe, to belong. These are really important for you when you're coming to a new community and something large like this campus is. It can be very overwhelming. I really think this degree, this faculty gives you the courage to experiment, to explore, to be curious. We want your engagement. We want you to be in there. We're looking for you to change and help change this world. We want you to be part of this. And that's what I appreciate about our faculty too, as well. They're really invested in the same things that you're valuing of like, hey, we want real-time solutions to some of these pressing problems that are very important, whether it's climate change, agriculture, food security. And ultimately, I think all of this, as you can see, is a way to hybridize yourself for your career. All right, wrapping up here, again, provides opportunities for you to fly, right? Like a bird, build these human skills. Our LFS alumni land in many different places. I'm referring to a couple, Adita, who was just a Rhodes Scholar. Like there's not many Rhodes Scholars. She's from Toronto, Global Resource Systems, really cool story. You can check that out. Sadia, if you're not following Pickup Limes, I think last I checked is like 3.6 million followers running this beautiful health and wellness channel, was from Food Nutrition, Health and Dietetics. So we have alumni doing a lot of different things and engaging things. It just depends on what you think you're looking for. But I think we have that diverse kind of career landings for everyone. And I think, again, it allows you to explore. Really what you're trying to do is you're discovering a career pathway that aligns with your values, skills, and interests until they change again. All right. One thing you can do for me as we wrap up, I recognize we're over time here, and I thank you for being here today. I'm going to stay around again to answer any more specific questions, but this is a great thing for you. A study tactic is, at the end of any session lecture, if you ask this one question, again, it really helps make those neural connections stronger. And it allows you to like retain things a little bit. A simple question like, what's one takeaway from today's session? So I'm going to ask you that. And again, let you leave right away, because again, we're over time, but like I said, I'll stay around for a bit longer. And then you can save this file, make a copy for yourself. I have a whole bunch of career resources down here, more than what you need, but you can see that these are the sort of resources that we have at UBC within LFS as well. And we really are trying to put a focus on helping you land your career, helping you explore the pathways. And again, I really wish you best of luck in some of these decisions that you're making. And I hope that we get to one day cross paths here at this campus. Thank you, everyone.